Thank you very much. So we still have people coming in the room. Feel free. I think we have sufficient number of seats. It's a wonderful venue. So the two of us today will take you through some of the current events at OCLC, as well as some of our future thinking. And hopefully you'll find some of what we talk about interesting. So I must start with talking about our long-term collaboration with IFLA. It's a very important organization. OCLC is a platinum sponsor of IFLA. You'll recognize this lady. So Ellen was a member of the OCLC Members Council for 3 years, which required her to fly from Johannesburg. Lord knows how she got eventually to Dublin, Ohio, 3 times a year. So tremendous dedication, and we're very proud that she's our current IFLA president. Another program we work with very diligently with IFLA and the American Theological Library Association is the IFLA Fellows program. And this is a picture of last year's class of fellows. They hailed from Kenya, China, Egypt, Azerbaijan, and Jamaica. And I just announced this week the 2011 cohort, who will represent Botswana, China, Malawi, Nepal, the Philippines, and Serbia. So it's been running now for quite some time, and after the 2011 group goes through, they spend 4 weeks in Ohio, but we don't leave them in Ohio. We move them to Washington, D.C. to see the Library of Congress. They're exposed to large academics, medium academic institutions, public libraries, and then they spend a week with our colleagues in Leiden in the Netherlands so that they can understand current practices in European libraries. So it's a wonderful group. There will, after we get the 2011 cohort through, we will have had 56 fellows representing 31 different countries participate in the program. So that's something we're quite proud of. OCLC, the cooperative today, serves 72,000 libraries, as you see, in 171 countries. This notion of public purpose, this has been in place since OCLC's founding in 1967, and that is further access to the world's information and help reduce the rate of rise of costs for libraries. We operate out of 23 different offices in 10 countries, so we like to think of ourselves as increasingly global, and as we move along, I think you'll see that we, in fact, are becoming much more global. Governance structure of OCLC. So OCLC is a true cooperative. It was founded by libraries. It's governed by libraries, and we'll talk about the governance a bit. And we changed the model last year because we couldn't get sufficient global representation in the older structure. So we've gone to these regional councils, which I'll talk about briefly. This is a picture of the first regional council meeting, which occurred in 2009 in Beijing, where we had over 100 participants, 45 from outside of China and 55 from inside. It was a wonderful session. This is the session which we held in Leiden in the Netherlands this year in February, representing librarians from Europe, Middle East, and Africa. The Global Council met for the first time in Dublin, Ohio in April of this year, and that's a picture of Jan Eisen, who was the president of Global Council. This young lady, Jennifer Younger, who's in the audience, I think. Jennifer is the president of Global Council for this year. And the gentleman on your right, Bernd Dugal, the University of Frankfurt, is the vice chair and chair-elect. So Bernd will represent the first European president of this Global Council. That's the Board of Trustees. So the Board of Trustees is global as well. Let me find her. So the lady standing to the left is Elizabeth Niggemann, who is the director of the Deutsche Nationalbibliothek in Frankfurt. So she certainly has helped us understand what being global is and reminds us when we stray from the path. The other board members, they're from varied backgrounds, not just librarians. We have people that are deep in technology. One of the most recent board members spent 36 years at IBM and managed IBM's internet strategies and launched ThinkPad. So he brings a wonderful technological expertise to the board. Two new trustees just elected, Jim Neal, who many of you know because Jim's been deeply involved in IFLA activities for many years, is the Vice President for Information Services and University Librarian at Columbia University. And the gentleman on the right, Brian Schottlander, University of California, San Diego. Jim is on the board now, and Brian will come on the board in November of this year. So two very important leaders that are really, really valuable additions to our board. Partners of OCLC represent a particularly key constituency for OCLC. You'll see a list here. So ABES in France, I won't read the entire list, but these are critical national libraries and library consortia that use these tools to create very, very broad access to resources in their regions. Swiss Bib, just last year, this is fascinating. It's 14 million records, which links 740 libraries through a very simple, intuitive interface. The CBS metadata management system handles the record processing. A search engine which we developed called FAST provides high-performance searching and indexing. And OCLC Touchpoint provides an intuitive and easy-to-use end-user interface so that this collection can be viewed by all citizens in Switzerland. We also are very much involved in local library systems, as many of you know. I'm sure there's users in the room. It's a very important part of OCLC, and it's an important part of our strategy going forward. So you see the names of the brands of OCLC's library management systems on the left side of the slide, and the number of locations. And this is a progressive path of how we are going to manage these local library systems toward what we're going to talk about, web scale and cloud computing. So we're supporting them, and we've done any number of releases with improvements to each of those systems. So I think if we think about the social networking capacities that we've embedded in a number of our systems, and the two-way synchronization capacity that we've developed, so that a record entered into the Dutch National Union catalog literally appears in WorldCat at the data center in Ohio within seconds. So there's this automatic synchronization, and a record entered in Ohio appears in the Leiden instance just as quickly and automatically. So I want to define cloud computing. There are probably as many different definitions of cloud computing as there are snowflakes. I like the second one. It's web-based applications with shared data and applications. So it's and services. So it's just, let me talk about it a little bit and we'll see. So the notion is that the library doesn't need to run infrastructure, large computing capacity at the library. And as you see, the infrastructure that we're talking about is a platform which provides any number of applications and services, including those you see listed. So WorldCat is obviously a registry of items that are in libraries around the world, acquisitions we know, license management, cataloging, and so on. So we're going to provide these on a central platform, a hosted set of data and applications, and therefore take the cost and the pain of managing hardware on the library side just out of the equation. We've just been awarded a major contract in Norway, BIBSYS, which will link the academic catalogs and the National Library of Norway. And this will be a hosted cloud application. So we'll be deploying this solution over the next year. So if you think about, if you ran everything in the cloud, or you didn't run it physically in your library, it ran on servers, so wouldn't full access to your library just look like this, possibly? I mean, if a patron has a smart mobile device, and Michael's going to talk much more about our mobile strategy, But this device would offer any patron access to incredible riches because the systems are obviously all accessible. So how are we going to get there? We have a pretty simple list. This has been a consistent list for about 3 years now. So how would one get there? So create a compelling user environment. If a user uses your systems in this day and age of Google, and they don't have a good experience, they will not come back. They will not use it again. So let's create a very rich experience for our users. Let's create system-wide efficiencies for library management, these hosted applications and data sets. We need to increase OCLC's global relevance and position of trust, which means localized applications, for one thing. We have to have rich metadata from countries, regions, cities, every type of library, museum, and historical society around the world. And we have to make OCLC services integrated and just a part of the web experience.